From a handful of stars to a breathtaking view of Earth, astronauts see many awe-inspiring things in space, while it is daunting, terrifying, and an overwhelmingly vast place where astronauts are supposed to be alone. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know space is weird, but just how weird might surprise you. Astronauts have seen some creepy things in space that make you wonder if they really saw these things or if being in outer space was just messing with their minds. Here are the 10 mysterious and most disturbing space stories guaranteed to creep you out. Number 10. Space Snake. Retired NASA astronaut Dr. Story Musgrave, who has 6 academic degrees and much more to his credit, boasts the most colorful UFO story ever told. Passing his claims as a lie wouldn't be wise, but he insists to have seen 6 to 8 foot long snake-like tubes swim through space on 2 of his missions. Musgrave describes the creature rubbery as it has internal waves in it. The more you sink into space, the more you see this creature, which brings a certainty of other living creatures in space. While some immediately dismiss it as a type of hose detached from a spaceship, Musgrave is obstinate that the snake had its propulsion methods. Number 9. The Knock. First things first, space is a vacuum, so there's no sound in space. This precisely is what makes this claim rather strange. The first astronaut to be sent into space by the Chinese space program, Yang Li Wei, didn't get lucky on his space voyage. On one silent night, he reportedly heard an odd banging sound outside. As he clarified, quote, "Someone knocking the body of the spaceship just as knocking an iron bucket with a wooden hammer. It neither came from outside nor inside the spaceship." While this may be taken as a space mirage, he's not the only one to have experienced this. 2 other Chinese astronauts heard the same knocking on subsequent missions. Number 8. A UFO Parking Lot. Besides strolling around the moon and becoming the first man to do so, Armstrong is said to have sent a secret message to NASA during the Apollo 11 mission in 1969. During the 2 minutes opted out of public reach during Armstrong's moon visit, Armstrong allegedly said, quote, "These babies were huge, sir. Enormous. Oh God, you wouldn't believe it. I'm telling you, there are other spacecraft out there, lined up on the far side of the crater's edge. They're on the moon watching us." Armstrong never remarked on this saga, mostly because there just wasn't much factual basis for the claims that he ever saw or said any such things. So this is just slid away as one of many such tales linked with the first lunar landing. Number 7. The Fleet of UFOs. During Gordon Cooper's solo journey around Earth, he may have located more than just some space junk. Closing his 22-orbit trip around the planet, he caught a glowing green object jolt toward him at a high rate of speed. The object was real, at least according to the Muchia tracking station in Western Australia, which picked it up on radar. Cooper reported the incident to the National Broadcasting Company, where he was told that they couldn't question him about the sighting. Cooper even went on to describe the happening to the United Nations. Quote, "I believe that these extraterrestrial vehicles and their crews are visiting this planet from other planets. Most astronauts were reluctant to discuss UFOs. I did have occupation in 1951 to have 2 days of observation of many flights of them, of different sizes, flying in fighter formation, generally from east to west over Europe." Number 6. Strange space music. After 4 days of firing up the Great Abyss during the Apollo 10 mission, American astronauts Tom Stafford, Gene Cernan, and John Young were on the far side of the moon. It was 1969. While photographing craters and sipping on grape juice, among other things, the 3 began to hear unnatural, organized noise coming from their headsets for 1 full hour. "Boy, that sure is weird music," Commander Cernan said. "We're going to have to find out about that," Pilot Young replied. "Nobody will believe us." Until earlier that year, the music was still a mystery. It is now explained to be a sound emanated from radio interference between spacecraft. Still, 3 seasoned astronauts would be used to strange ventures in space and not regard something out of the ordinary to the point of calling it spacey music. Number 5. The Cylinder UFO. No one would expect a UFO to be cylindrical. In 1991, Soviet Azerbaijan astronaut Musa Manarov broke this belief when he saw a cigar-shaped UFO on camera. Manarov watched it as it swiveled at certain moments and spiraled through the cosmos. They say in space, you can't tell whether something is up close or far away. Manarov still can't clarify what he saw up there, but he knows for sure that it was not space junk, as some people have argued. Would you or wouldn't you trust the man who broke the record for the longest continuous time spent in space? Number 4. The Exploding UFO. Vladimir Kovalyonok is one of the few astronauts to see something inexplicable in space and talk publicly about it afterward. General Vladimir Kovalyonok was part of a crew operating the Salyut 6 space station in 1981. Out of all of the weird things, he claims to have sighted something strange in a porthole one day. The object was the size of a finger, and it was an orbiting object. As they prepared to take a picture of it, the UFO exploded. The object split into two interconnected pieces, leaving only clouds of smoke. As described by him, it was reminiscent of a dumbbell. He instantly reported the happens to Mission Control. Whatever the reason for what he saw, there's not much of an explanation for this one. Number 3. Something shiny on the moon. Richard C. Hoagland, a disciple of alternate space theories, believed Alan Bean's claims of witnessing glass domes from a long-extinct alien civilization on the moon. In an interview, Bean explained it as, quote, black patent leather shoes from the surface of the moon. Hoagland pleaded, quote, space should be velvet black, it should be inky black, it should be infinity, unending, deep, endless black. It shouldn't be shiny. While this is precisely what we expect from space, what was this shiny thing Bean saw? Could it have been glass? The only explanation for Bean's description was that he was seeing space through the reflection of a glass dome. Number 2. A differently shaped UFO. While we picture UFOs to be disc-shaped flying saucers, astronauts Jane McDivitt and Ed White noticed a flying object that to them didn't seem like something from the Earth, but this metallic object seemed to have arms sticking out of its body. To quote McDivitt's words, he said, I looked outside, just glanced up, and there was something out there. It had a geometrical shape similar to a beer can or a pop can, and with a little thing maybe like a pencil or something sticking out of it. That relative size dimensionally. It was all white. The press got a hold of the story and ran with it, claiming McDivitt had seen a UFO. What was this object, and why did it have arms? Hopefully, we're not to know soon enough. Number 1. Floating animal corpses. Before Neil Armstrong got to stroll around the moon, crucial sacrifices were made to get astronauts up into space. The major unsung heroes of space exploration, it turns out, are animals. While it's sad and inconsiderate, instead of sending people up in such a risky situation, chimps and dogs, to name a few animals, were sent into space to analyze results. Of all the freaky, funky space stories, gloating animal corpses make sense. They reportedly float to this day and can be seen by astronauts making trips to space. Now, we're left with animal corpses floating around against the backdrop of black and infinite space, and astronauts having to just go on doing what they came to do despite all the creepiness. These weird astronaut stories prove space is not for the faint of heart, and they definitely will make you question what you believe or are made to believe. The creepy side of the cosmos makes you wonder if alien conspiracy theorists might be right. Maybe the government does know about the existence of extraterrestrials and is covering it up. So, is it out there? That's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, let us know what you would like the next video to be about. I'll be reading you in the comments. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell for future updates. See you soon!